Welcome to Tuesday morning. I hope this finds you well. I've so oh god, this happens every time. 18 things to talk about, and I sort of feel it all brewing, and then I go, "Do I have time? Can I hang out for 15 minutes on Instagram and hash out some ideas?" And so I'm going to do it. So it's Tuesday morning, and, welcome to the wildness. My friend Claire at Juniper Healing Arts posted something yesterday, last night, about information from the full moon, and it was lovely, and I have it in my stories. You can find it there. Thank you, Claire, for sharing your observations. There are people in the world right now that help remind me to stay grounded, and Claire is one of them. I love what she posts, everything she posts. Anyway, she was talking about how while it feels like there are deaths everywhere, there's also the start of 10,000 new lives or 10,000 new things that are also happening at the same time as this letting go. And I've been really ruminating on that since I read it last night, and thinking about it today and what this means. And I'm always trying to make sense of where I'm at and what's going on in my heart and in the world and what's my place in it and how can I make this one precious life a good one. And I've been thinking about, here in Alberta, we had civic elections yesterday to elect new council members and new mayors to our city councils, and there's a new chief in town here in Calgary. I shouldn't say chief. There's a new mayor in town, Jody Gondek. So congratulations! It's lovely to see a woman be in this position, the first woman elected as mayor. But it got me thinking, as I was thinking about all of the people who were running for the mayor's office. I was, doing my research before going to the polls, and I started to, it started to resonate with me, this certain theme that I have going on in my life. Where's the heart? And oh my gosh, if that's not what's missing in right now, what's going on. Let me preface this with a couple of weeks ago. First of all, my husband is a teacher at the Waldorf school, so there's a lot of anthroposophical teachings that make their way into how I think of the world and how I see things, and I'm grateful to the Waldorf school for that, and to Rudolf Steiner and his observations and philosophies and musings on how the human beings work. So a couple of weeks ago, I was chatting with my husband in conversation, and we were talking about, sort of the state of the world and what's going on, and why does stuff feel so different now? And did our parents at our age, in our late 40s, did our parents feel the same kind of despair a little bit? Did it sort of feel like, oh my gosh, it's like, is it the end of the world? Why are we constantly being told it's the end of the world? And we were chatting, and Dean shared with me that through the Waldorf school, then there's this thought of, right now, in this current era of humans, we are very much in our heads. We are very much in our heads. We are so much of what we place value on in 2021 is head stuff. Knowledge, research, science-based, trust the science, right? Whether it's science as actual science where you can question, or if it's science as, some people are saying it's like the new religion. Doesn't matter. I don't care where you sit on this, and I don't care where I sit. It's just interesting to see the two dichotomies, the two polar opposites, which is also a total theme for right now. But we were chatting, and I was saying, I have pretty high anxiety, and it sort of feels like sort of all the time. And he said, well, what are you doing to bring yourself back in your heart? Do you know how you bring yourself back in your heart? Is to create art, actually. And I immediately got defensive. I'm a bit of a jerk sometimes. I totally got defensive and said, I create all the time. I'm creating content, I'm creating social media, I'm creating a program right now, and I'm doing all the images for it, and I'm creating hi, Max. And I'm creating all of these, I'm creating. Don't tell me I'm not creating. And then I walked away from that conversation thinking, oh, Luca, well, did that set something off? And if it set something off, what do we need to look at here? Because that's what I love about being humans and paying attention. If you pay attention to when something really sets you off, that's an invitation to go figure out why, isn't it? I think it is. So I sat with it for 2 days and I thought, okay, I was pretty quick to say, I'm creating, get off my back. If I have to add another GD thing to my to-do list, I might punch someone in the eye. And then I just thought for a minute and I thought, well, I'm creating content, yes, because I need to make a living. And the only way I can make a living is to create content. But I had only half heard what he was saying. The Waldorf philosophy is, teach through the hands and the heart and the head, but that you need all three for balance. And that quite possibly anxious feelings, anxiety, can be an imbalance between those three. Because as humans, we certainly use our heads, and we have a lot of things that we need to use our heads and our thoughts and our smarts for sure, absolutely. But we also have our heart and we also have our hands. This is something I also see as a theme that's popping up in the wellness industry. Wild Rose Village has this really wonderful, wonderful community, an online community, the Wild Rose College, I suppose. And I can't remember. I think it was Dr. Terry Willard, who was talking about reishi is the medicinal mushroom to take you out of your head into your heart. And that just struck a chord with me when I heard that. So it's this theme that keeps coming back of this reminder of balance things out. You are so much in your head. And my work is all done online, and it's done trying to figure out how to connect with humans. So it feels very much up here. And when I get to make food in my kitchen, that actually gets me into my hands, which I love, and that actually turns off that the ranginess that can happen when I'm too much up here, and it helps to balance it out. But what was I doing for my heart? A big fat nothing is what I was doing for my heart. Really? Oh, well, I went for walks. Sure, I went out in nature and I took my dog for a walk. I love him, for sure. But that was about it. And so I took it upon myself to smack myself gently and just went, oh, honey, that's something to look at, isn't it? And I realized, I need to do something to get myself back into my heart. And something that my husband had said really resonated. He said, through the Waldorf school, part of it is we get in through the hands. But in order to get you in your heart, one of the pieces of the pedagogy that we do at the Waldorf school is to create beauty, to create art, to encourage the children to feel and to move through emotions and to connect with what it is to be a feeling human, get you into your body. And they do art. And so I took it upon myself, my daughter and I, we went up to a craft shop here in Calgary, and we both chose a craft to take us through the fall and winter. And I decided to take up cross-stitching. So I'm actually cross-stitching probably most days, 2 hours a day. And I'm putting updates on where I'm at with the cross-stitch in my stories. I'm not a very fast maker. But I can't tell you how that has actually helped to reduce some of the overwhelm. So a little nugget of wisdom for today is about how, if you're feeling the wildness and you're feeling rangy or anxious or feeling like, I have too many tabs open in my head. Glad you're thinking. Glad you're using your noggin. There's a reason we have it. But how else can you open tabs in other parts of your body? Can you open tabs in your heart? Can you open tabs in your hand? I love cooking, me personally, and it'll be different for each person, but I encourage you to figure out what are those acts and what are those things you can do as a human today to bring you into your heart? And what are those things that you can do to bring yourself into your hands? For some, it might be chopping wood. That really gets them into their hands and the hard work. For me, for sure, gardening gets me in my hands, totally gets me out of my head and gets me into the ground through my hands. It really, literally grounds me, like in a very real way. What does that look like for you? Another way for me, my hands, to get into my hands is to do cooking. And when I'm cooking, I also start thinking of who am I making this for and what would they like. I made turkey pot pie on the weekend because I know how much my husband loves it. And I, at the end of it, I also realized this is actually how my mom made a lot of food, and she still does, actually. That she very much repurposed everything that was in the fridge, and you didn't put anything to waste, so it connected me with my mom. It also connected me with my grandmother, because my grandmother made a pie every 2 days, and here I was making a savory pie, and it made me think of my grandmother. And so in the act of making dinner on the weekend, I was for sure getting into my hands and chopping vegetables, reusing the last of the turkey morsels. I had made a stock with the bones, and had used some of that in the pie. And it was a way to connect me to my ancestors, living and recently passed. And it was a way to also think of who I was going to be nourishing with this meal, including myself. And that's one of the ways I get out of my head and into my heart and into my hands. So if you are feeling the wildness, you can, if you want accountability for it, which drives me nuts, you can jot it down in the comments below if you want. Or you can quietly just name check yourself and say, this is what what can I do to get into my heart? What can I do to help balance the head, the heart, and the hands? Is some of my anxiety and discomfort lying in a disconnect? Is that why I'm feeling anxious? And there's a thought that when there's anxiety coming up, it's a division between certain bodies. We tend to have many bodies. You have your physical body, your emotional body, your etheric body, your astral body. Like there's a lot of different bodies that we come with, and layers to our humanness. And there's a thought that when there's anxiety, there's a division between two bodies that's a bit too far apart, and that's where the anxiety can stem from. Here comes the garbage truck. So can you get into your heart? Can you get into your hands today? And what would that look like for you? Bye. Thanks for tuning in. Share this if it resonates. Yeah, bye.